So hello and welcome back to another episode of the Pharmacist Diaries podcast. I am super excited because today I have a special guest from across the ocean, Ashley Kay Pendrick. I'm really excited to share Ashley's story with you. We, of course, connected on my favorite platform, LinkedIn, but she is building her entrepreneur journey in consulting businesses. So if you are planning or thinking about your pharmacy career and potentially looking at building a consulting service, then she is the woman for you. You've got to check her out on her LinkedIn profile. I will put all of her website and her newsletter, which you can subscribe to, within the show notes. But this episode is not only just about her pharmacy journey. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, building something that is outside of the traditional 9-to-5, because we're both on that journey together. And we're going to showcase that story from that perspective, but also just learn about why she's making the shift and what she's aiming to achieve from a community that she's launching. So please stick with it till the end because she has a little secret surprise for just you guys. So hold that thought and we will get back to you, and let me introduce Ashley to the podcast. Hello. Hi, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for today's episode.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that we finally got a chance to record this episode and get to know each other. I guess I always kickstart my episodes with why you became a pharmacist in the first place. So tell us your story.
Oh, that's a great question. I know, like many others, I knew I wanted to be in healthcare, but I just wasn't exactly sure where it was. And so I spent several years trying to figure out while going through school where it was that I was going to be in healthcare. I was originally going for dental hygiene and then found myself not exactly thrilled after about to be able to put my money where my mouth was and sign up for the program. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to be in somebody's mouth. So I went back to the drawing board. And while I was working at the bank as a financial expert there, I actually came across several different pharmacists in oncology and every different realm. And that really was exciting because, of course, the general image to the lay public is that pharmacists are just behind the retail counter. And so after being exposed to several different pharmacists, I looked into that as a career path and was able to find a program within the vicinity that I lived in. So I put all my eggs in that basket, and I would say the rest is history. And I was just really excited to become somewhere in the healthcare industry that just wasn't in the blood and guts, in the gore. I think that's where a lot of pharmacists end up, going and deciding to do something that's just in that realm of helping people, but not necessarily any sort of procedures.
Fair enough. And yeah, you're right. I know a lot of pharmacists who come onto the podcast and say, a similar kind of version of the story is that they look at all these different aspects of healthcare professional roles, and pharmacy is really attractive because you are so supportive and helpful and so knowledgeable on all these medications, but you can do it from the sideline.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about, I guess, when you were studying pharmacy, you must have done rotations or placements, as we call them here in the UK. What were your initial thoughts on what you wanted to do once you qualified as a pharmacist?
Oh, that's a great question. So as I ventured into pharmacy, I started as a technician at CVS. And as you mentioned, went through several rotations in my introductory and the advanced. And of course, like many pharmacists off the bat, they go into the retail industry and they're like, oh, this isn't for me. And so that was a really quick eye-opening experience that I knew long-term that wasn't exactly the avenue that I wanted. I mentioned oncology, and I did do an oncology rotation, and that was in the beginning. Thankfully, it was in the beginning. And I decided that that was also not the avenue that I wanted, even though that was where I had actually sought out once going in through the program. But during my advanced experiences, I had everywhere that you could think of. I ended up in the ICU for some time, helping with, of course, everybody knows Benkotrops and all that jazz. And then I did an ER rotation or the ED, and that was really fun. I saw a live birth. I saw a gunshot wound on the last day. I mean, you name it. Got to watch a cath, and then also the VA, and that is where I think a lot of my ambulatory care and chronic care management really passion kind of came about. And so doing the VA rotation allowed me to see how a pharmacist can be really involved with the complex care of those with diabetes, high cholesterol, any sort of heart disease, hypertension. And during that time, I was actually adding and removing medications, the new guidelines that came out at that particular moment, and blood pressure medicine for everybody. It was like, here, you're not at goal anymore because the goal is now lower. So let's go ahead and add, hydrochlorothiazide, amlodipine across the board for the most part. Of course, it was patient centered, but that experience, I think, opened my eyes. And what we learned throughout the program is that you can be a clinician. It's just finding that right spot. And so I did end up applying for a residency. Also did not land in one, but I did interview, and that was an experience in itself.
Your intern role, I've checked your LinkedIn profile, and you've obviously demonstrated all the different aspects of the internships and the locations that you've worked, the experiences that you've had. And I think in the US, you are quite fortunate to be able to move around even during that intern year, which helps you to understand a little bit more about yourself. Because I think as a pharmacy student, you can get really excited about specific topics that you learn from amazing lecturers that, or professors that teach you, or content that kind of really inspires you, topics of conversation that you have with people that you're, like your student colleagues or people that you work with. But until you're in it, until you're actually on the ground working in that clinic or on that ward or in that pharmacy, you don't necessarily know whether or not you're really going to like it. And I think it takes a much longer time to truly understand like where your passions lie. And I've talked a little bit about this before on the podcast because it's taken me like nearly a decade to kind of figure out what it is that I truly kind of love or what lights me up. And I've been through different roles. I've got quite a portfolio career. I've obviously been fortunate enough to work abroad, and I've loved all of those things. But it wasn't until I found pediatrics that I really thought, wow, like I'm obsessed, I'm in love, I can do this day in, day out, and I want to try and continue with this journey. And the same with podcasting. I've fallen in love with podcasting, and I love the idea of having conversations and the connection, and the entrepreneurship journey has been really fabulous, plus showcasing this profession. But it has taken me 11, 12, 13 years to kind of get to this point. And it's really important to kind of showcase that to other people, that sometimes, especially with students, you think you know what you like or what you want, and you go into it and realize that actually it's a different pathway that you think you need to transfer to, but that's okay. I think sometimes people see it as a failure, that they didn't enjoy it or they didn't thrive in that area that they expected, but actually it's just all part of the learning journey.
I could not agree more, Amisha. I think that it took me, like you, several years to really determine where it was that I felt like my passion, my soul was on fire. And throughout the program in pharmacy school, I did find, through Strengths Finder and determining where it was that I might land best. And with that, I found both education and entrepreneurial journey was where it was that my heart was being called to, and even my strengths lined up perfectly. And so here we are, I think I graduated in 2018. So 6 or so years later, really kind of finding my niche and my area and my home, that I'm just so excited to be able to share the experience and make things easy for others, because it really shouldn't take 10, 12 years if we do a little bit of inner work and try to reflect. And then from that point, I mean, just start pushing yourself towards that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take you back to when you talked a little bit about the residency journey. Obviously, it's something that a lot of, or a role that a lot of US pharmacists love to apply for. But it is such a competitive, intense kind of journey in terms of the applications, interviews, shortlists. I mean, I've interviewed several pharmacists on the podcast who have done residencies, and it sounds crazy. What was your experience with it, and how did that then lead to the opportunities that you kind of pursued after that?
Oh, when I entered throughout pharmacy school in the first year or so, I did not plan on even applying for residency. Just like, let the others, go ahead and go down that path. And so it wasn't like I was setting out on that mission to apply or, complete one. But it was during my rotation that I was kind of advocated for. My my professor was like, Ashley, I feel like you should at least try, and you have everything that qualify you for residency. I was doing well academically. I picked really great experiential rotations, and so I did put myself in for both the VA and the Indian Health Service for residency application. I was interviewed for both of them. But like many, when it comes to interviewing, I thought I prepared enough. But it's a whole nother ballgame when you're in that. And I felt, I don't know what it was, but I felt like I did well. But I'm sure when it's comparing to, like you said, the competitive landscape overall, I wasn't selected. And I know that that was really hard and internally at the moment. But again, I trusted that eventually things will work out. And regardless if that wasn't my path, if I really wanted to, I could apply again the next year. Granted, it would have been post-graduation at that point. But I think everything does happen for a reason. And because I didn't land that residency, I had been working at the call center doing MTM, so medication therapy management. And in that experience, that area, again, with ambulatory care, all we did was educate on diabetes and heart failure, asthma, COPD, and provide resources and actual goals for patients so that they understood their diseases. And so I found love in that area. And from that, I was able to actually land a management role and then a training and clinical education role within that call center as the company evolved. But I'm not sure overall it ended up, I got laid off. So years later, but I really enjoyed that ride. And had I had a residency and gone down that road, I would have never found that opportunity to have been in that place in that moment, to have had that opportunity present myself to train and lead and create training material and educational material for our pharmacists, our technicians, and our interns, and creating CE content. I mean, I got to do all of that, and it was so fun and such a journey. And I still became board certified through that company. So ultimately, it was like I got the end result. Everybody wants to either become board certified or residency trained. And so you can do it still, even if you don't land a residency.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear from you. It's like music to my ears, because a lot of people do feel so disappointed, right? They feel really disheartened by the fact that they go through this really rigorous application process, a lot of interviews. You feel like you're really, really prepared for them. You go into it knowing it's a really competitive environment, but you want the job. I mean, who doesn't want the job when they apply for one? So obviously it feels really disappointing. But what I think is really valuable that you've explained, in a similar experience for me, was before, like, applying for an internship. So for me, coming out of pharmacy school and applying for that initial intern role, we call it a pre-registration year. I applied for multiple hospital positions, had interviews, and I put so much pressure on myself with the interviews that I think I just freaked out during the moment and didn't come across as my capable self. And obviously the jobs were given to other people. And it was just so hard to overcome that barrier when you've done so well throughout pharmacy school. You feel very confident as a student. you go into you've done so much work experience as a student. I worked like every weekend and all summers in different places, especially retail pharmacy. So I felt like I had the confidence to go and get an amazing hospital job as an intern. But that interview piece was a real kind of barrier for me. And I had to go through like the second round, which is basically a round where there are just leftover jobs and you kind of take what you can get sort of situation. It doesn't work like that anymore. But at that time, I felt like it felt really crappy to kind of like feel like you're the second pick. You know, you're not the initial person that they offered the job to, you're the second pick. But once I overcame that mindset and stopped worrying about the perception of what people will think of me because of that, because you do kind of, in the early stages of your career and as a young professional, you can get wrapped up into what other people see of you, what they perceive, what society thinks of you because of the way that you've, landed a job. But once I kind of overcame that mindset, my confidence just grew. And it was something that actually my employer really helped me with during that intern year. And then I applied for a residency and smashed the interview and did really well and became a resident pharmacist, which was amazing. And I loved that part of the journey and then just kind of flourished from there. But it wasn't easy. Like, you always have obstacles that you need to overcome in your journey. You will always have speed bumps to kind of go through as a pharmacist, as a professional, as an individual, as a human, right? And it's just navigating like the mindset piece to help you to see, okay, well, why did that happen? What was the cause of it? How can I shift my mindset? Do I go with my gut and say, actually, this has happened for a reason? Because sometimes when you think it's a failure, actually you have to tell yourself, maybe this is a calling that I need to go on another pathway. And you still achieve the same outcome. You still got board certified. You still became a leader and got a management position probably way earlier than a residency pharmacist would be awarded a similar position. So that's awesome. And it helped you to learn more about yourself and where your passions lie. So that's great. But I want to put that point across because I think it's really valuable for young people who might be watching this episode and thinking that they've kind of come across some of those barriers and how they can overcome them.
You said it so well. Those barriers are going to come. You've got to be able to have that mindset and really shift it a bit as they come. How am I going to overcome this? And this is just one step, and take it day by day. You can get through it.
Agreed. So what is it about education and training and sort of the learning and development piece that you like so much within pharmacy?
I think it's a mixture. So like you, I'm just a people person and I love to help others and to allow them to kind of conceptualize some of these things that might seem so simple, but really they're not. And so even in the educational bit, it was just like, how can we simplify this enough that somebody that is absolutely has no idea what we're talking about, it's, breaking it down one little bit by bit, each part. Because if you've been in it for so long, coming in with fresh eyes is a whole different experience. And so I really enjoyed being able to kind of go back to that drawing board and reconstruct what it was like to be a new person coming into a role. And then how can we simplify things? And I basically apply the same concept, when it comes down to the consulting community. It's just really, it is simple, but it's just those intricate steps. And then I really enjoyed creating the material. And I grew up saying I wanted to be an artist to my mom. And she's like, no, you're not. You can't do that. Of course, like many parents are going to tell their children, that's not a long-term career choice. But if you compare it like you are with the podcast, that it's really creative and you can use it and create inspiration through. I think when it comes to creating material and educational pieces, it's the same inner parts of creativity and the artwork and the expression. And how can I get people engaged and to enjoy the process as well? And so the bottom of the, or at the end of the day, I want to really help pharmacists and I did that through CE training and training them and providing feedback during their onboarding. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I knew one day I was going to be able to help pharmacists and use that same overall concept throughout. And now here I am.
And it links really well with what is going to happen for you in the future, which obviously we'll talk about in a little while. But I can see that your background within pharmacy and the roles that you've had are really valuable assets to building a community and kind of what you're aiming to achieve as an entrepreneur, which is awesome. I love that. Before we dive into the next question that I'm going to ask Ashley about her entrepreneurship, I'm just going to take a quick break so you can hear from our partners. Why settle for ordinary when you can embrace extraordinary? I want to tell you about a product called olive leaf extract from the Naked Pharmacy. Olive leaf extract is not just any supplement. It is hand-picked with precision from the sun-drenched fields of Spain and transported to a facility in the UK that uses innovative processes to extract the active ingredients within it. It supports your immune system by attacking and neutralizing viruses and bacteria. It can be taken either to help prevent you getting ill or during periods of illness to help you recover. Olive leaf can also improve heart health by reducing blood pressure and lowering cholesterol. If you're interested in learning more, head on over to thenakedpharmacy.com to find out more information. Use code PD20 for 20% off your purchase. In terms of entrepreneurship and thinking about transitioning outside of pharmacy a little bit, tell me about the initial, I guess, ideas that started popping into your head that actually, I want to do something different. I want to do something non-traditional. I don't want to be in just the 9 to 5. Where did that stem from? And like, how has it kind of flourished into where you are today?
I would say that's a really long answer, but I'll shorten it. But I knew one day I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I mean, I knew this in high school and had ideas, always processing through my mind. But it's creativity and the curiosity, I think. And so when I spoke about becoming a manager, I was a manager and a trainer for that MTM call center. And we had 5 sites, I think extending to 6 sites at one point. And wearing those 2 hats, I'll be honest, it was burnout. I had felt, that nonstop. I didn't have time for a break. And it was just like when we go remote, a whole nother world is just like never off, right? Nonstop working. And I felt so called to continue to put, forth more effort. And of course, the crazy deadlines and everything that continued. And I was just like, how can I have something that, still sparks my fire a bit and that's not going to be burning out, and kind of build some of my creativity on the side. And so I created ProsperRx years ago before meeting my mentor and my coach. And at that point, the goal was to help with inputting pharmacists in more clinics. And so to represent pharmacists. And so at that point, I had the consulting business, I had everything up and running, but then I ended up being very comfortable in my role. The manager hat was removed, and I was just training and education for several years, at least 2 at least. And so it was like, okay, I can take a breather. So I did take a pause on my consulting business. And that's when I got laid off. And from that point, it was like, oh, Lord, what do I do now? And so through connections, LinkedIn, and mutual parties in the world of pharmacy, as we know, is a small world, I met Asha, who was my coach and mentor. And from that point, really, I narrowed in and created my niche. And from there, I had built my holistic wellness practice with a focus on diabetes prevention and taking on patients' cash pay to be able to help them on their journey and either reversing or overall preventing them from developing diabetes. And so now I have all those steps, and it was a really fun experience. And I just knew that my passion, though, even though I've got the consulting business, was to help pharmacists. And that was an underlying, goal. But once I built the foundation and the steps myself, then I feel like I can teach just like in any role, how are you going to teach something if you haven't done it yourself?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And from the education and training point of view, as somebody who works for a university and teaches undergraduate pharmacy students, I mean, just being around them lights me up. Just being part of their journey is so rewarding, and seeing the change year on year as they progress through the course is just such a beautiful relationship and a journey for me. I mean, I've been teaching mainly first and second year pharmacy students in the last sort of 1 to 2 years. And even this week, I got an email from one of my students, and she just said that I applied for like a master's program after I finished my pharmacy degree. And, I've been accepted and I need a reference. And, the email just demonstrated how she felt about me and how she felt about our relationship, what I taught her during the sessions that we had in small groups on consultation skills, communication skills, and kind of dispensing medications, and how the podcast and other elements of our relationship have inspired her on her journey. And that just lights me up. It brings me alive and just makes me so happy, because it's not only my journey as a pharmacist and an educator, it's my journey as a podcaster, which is helping to inspire the next generation. And she was so excited to let me know that she had been accepted into a program that was gonna be something she's really passionate about. And the podcast itself and watching these episodes and listening to people's stories has helped her in that journey to motivate her to then apply for something different. I mean, that's so cool. That is so cool.
Absolutely. And I kind of got a little moved at that moment, because that, I think, is where I felt like a calling, because I miss that. I trained hundreds of pharmacy students. We had a huge intern-based operation, and then pharmacists and technicians. And like you said, being a part of somebody's journey, and even the pharmacists that we took on, several coming from hospital or insurances, trying to kind of build them up as well clinically, to be able to then go back to speaking to patients and having those conversations, and what it takes and what it takes to, what are you looking for? And it was such a rewarding experience. And like you said, it lit me up. There was so much joy. I enjoyed it so much. And so when that position ended, my world was over at that moment. It felt like, but I needed to do something that can continue. And I'm so excited for that continued journey overall, because they need help. They need to see the motivation, the inspiration, and you are an inspiration. And I feel like just continue doing that, because we continue to bring light to this realm that.
Yeah, and pharmacy is not an easy place to work, right? If you're in a traditional kind of 9 to 5 or shift working in a hospital or even in retail pharmacy, it's a challenging place. There is a lot of burnout. Like, we have to be realistic about that. I've started a new job recently. I've been going in 4 days a week, and I love what I'm doing. Actually, I'm really enjoying it. But around me, there is a lot of negativity, because people are feeling tired and feeling exhausted by the constant lack of resource, the constant ability or the need to do more and more and more. And, the extra time that they put in every day, staying late at work. Like, the pharmacy is supposed to close at 5, and sometimes they finish working after 8, and it's tough. Like, it's a really difficult place to work, but it doesn't mean that, like, it's not all gloom and doom. There are people who are thoroughly enjoying the job, but we need to help pharmacists find the balance. We need to also help them to understand maybe how to say no sometimes and be a little bit more assertive, and learn what their boundaries are. Learn what your actual personal boundaries are and where your values lie, because knowing all of that information and getting that clarity will help you in your journey to thrive, instead of getting to the point of a lot of stress, a lot of burnout, because you're just like a hamster on a wheel type situation. And it is challenging. But from an education point of view, I love that you've also kind of tapped into the creativity, because you build a program or you build a set of lectures or a set of workshops for your students, and you trial them out and you get a lot of feedback from them and you make those improvements, right? You use your creativity to identify what's not really going quite so well or how we can make improvements to that aspect of the program, and how can we kind of switch that in a creative way to help students thrive in their journey. And that is a skill that I also transfer into the podcast, which again, like we're really similar, aren't we? We have a lot of similar skills, a lot of similar passions, but a lot of the things that we enjoy about our jobs are being transferred into our new adventures, which is really cool. I want you to really like dive into the new part of Ashley now and tell us all about kind of what is your community that you're building. Tell us about the wait list. Tell us about the consulting services that you are helping people in terms of their journey. Dive deep into that, because I'm sure everybody on this call wants to hear about it.
So that has been another really fun part to start learning. I know when we hear consulting, years past, it was just LTC, so long-term care, that pharmacists can consult in. But the big picture nowadays is that the fact is that pharmacists they have the most amount of experiential education and skills and knowledge that we can then leverage in the most unique areas. And for the most part, you can consult on just about anything. And so that's where I thought, how can we use the same systems that I learned and developed through my own mentorship and partnership with my coach to then basically apply throughout, no matter where it was that you wanted to start in consulting. And so I have a list of over 40 different areas, and it's growing, that you could really build a consulting business around, because whatever really starts that fire going in your soul, how can we leverage it? And then looking at the market opportunities. And of course, is there an area of like a niche area for that? And then, of course, finding your audience and honing in on that. So the consulting community is really, I think, a balance or harmony between the one-on-one experience, but at the same time on the grand scale. So that way, I myself am putting in the barriers and the boundaries to make sure that I don't become burnt out from the experience as well, because you'll speak to several, coaches and mentors, and that one-on-one is great. But at the same time, there's only so much of us, right? And so how can I build something that everybody's going to get a wonderful experience? They can jump on at any point and then also still gain the same overall benefits with that education component. And so the consulting community, which I've just named the Bright Consulting Community, because I want others to see that there are bright sides. There's a bright side to everywhere, and that includes pharmacy. And so whether that you want to think about consulting, I had somebody reach out, Spanish. Spanish is such a needed area for help. Those that have the Spanish speaking population, they're underserved. I mentioned oncology. I have another pharmacist that I helped too, that is in the phase of launching with their HIV and has an HIV program. I mean, you name it, holistic medicine, as I did. I narrowed into diabetes education and prevention, but that can go in so many different areas. Functional medicine is a huge opportunity right now. And so whatever that may be, and maybe you don't even know. I think even like we talked about, it took you 12 maybe or so years to figure out, where is it that I might fit? What is that? What is that thing that's going to ignite your soul? I also created an assessment. Where is it that you could land? So that way we're not spinning our wheels again, trying to figure out what it is that I could really start something about and consult in. Because the worst case scenario is, you put a little bit of time and energy into it, and after a couple months, you're like, this isn't working for me. We can continue to go back to the drawing board. But the biggest picture, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at kind of pharmacy as, your customer or your kind of client, at what point in their journey do you feel like a lot of where do they come from? Are they the type of people who are doing the 9 to 5, running a clinic, but they are finding that they want a little bit more independence, and that kind of entrepreneurship comes into it, where they'd rather consult and take ownership of their own time and the value that they give to their own customers? Or are they the type of people that have a 9 to 5 job but want to do consulting on the side part-time, and kind of start their business that way? What have you seen so far in your journey with the clients that you've had?
So I have honestly had a wide spectrum, those that are planning their exit as far as retirement, and those that are even just getting started. And I think the big picture idea would be those that are around their 1 to 2 year mark, right, in the industry, and they're trying to determine where is it outside of that 9 to 5 that they might not be getting the fulfillment in, right? That's a big word right now, is that finding that fulfillment, or they're starting to feel some of the burnout, that's coming on, given what they went to school for might not exactly be being applied in their current 9 to 5. And so, building something using their specific knowledge and the skills and the expertise that they have, that will provide them the passion. But then at the bottom line, we all know too, provide extra streams of income. And so creating that side hustle can be done outside of your 9 to 5. It can be done creating on the side and putting a little bit of time and energy. And so I'd say trying to do this before that burnout sets in, because once you have that, it's so hard to kind of dig your way out. And so if we can build those things right now as you're starting to feel it, then you'll start to create and have that inner spark come and ignite before you're at the point of no return, right? Where you're just like, pharmacy's not for me, I'm fine. What can we do to use and leverage the skills and the knowledge that you have and not go that detrimental route?
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at pharmacy as a career journey, it is very much a journey. You can do so much with it. And I think if you're in the early stages of your pharmacy career, it's so important to just expose yourself to as wide a network as you can. LinkedIn is a great place for that. But expose yourself to a wide network to see what other people are doing, because you might not necessarily know that consulting is for you, or you might feel that actually, oh, I'm only a couple of years into my journey, I'm not ready for that. Well, actually, you could be. It's more about actually exploring what's on offer and what you could be doing a year from now, and exposing yourself to people who are in that kind of pathway and seeing what benefits there are, seeing what the work-life balance is like, seeing what kind of rewards you get from the job, or what skills that you get to utilize, or what new skills that you can learn in that journey. I know that you have a newsletter, the Shine Bright newsletter. So for people who are watching or listening to this episode, that is a place where you can sign up for information that Ashley will provide to you. Is it weekly?
It is currently weekly, yes.
Yeah. So, you'll be providing people with information about what it is like to do consulting, about what it's like to have your own business or to be an entrepreneur and find your clients and marketing and all the things that entrepreneurship has to offer. If you're kind of teased by the idea, then that's definitely a good place to start. But you're also in the process of building a community. And next week on August 7th, you have would you say it's called a webinar or a masterclass? What are you calling it?
It'll be a webinar information session.
Exactly. So that is being hosted next week. But by the time you're listening to this episode, it will be available on replay. So I will make sure that it is linked in the show notes so that you can have access to it and watch it. Because if you're interested in this journey, then of course it is something that you might want to tap into.
I think what you said was spot on when it comes to, you don't know if this journey is for you, or at least this area is for you, until you really experience it And there's no beating around the bush when it comes to entrepreneurship. It can be difficult, but to create the steps and simplify them and the community that will take and help each other up, right? That's what it's going to take. You mentioned LinkedIn, and obviously that is wonderful when it comes to a platform. And then in the community for the bright side, where we're going to have consultants in just about every area and every phase. And so there might be somebody a couple steps behind. They're just kind of taking it all in, right? Or several steps ahead, and they're like, gosh, I'm hitting this wall. And that's where the community itself is going to come in. Of course, I'm here to guide as well, and that's what my goal is. But I want the actual community to bring each other up and share what's working for them, what's not working. This is some of the tricks and the tools that I've been using. And I'll continue to post, and we'll have the list of standard resources, and I'll continue to update it, and the tools. We'll have the education that really breaks it down, as I said, step by step. One of the things that I feel like a lot may think and put it kind of out of order is just creating an LLC and getting a website is not the steps right up front, when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And so I will go through what steps typically work first to create something that then you have a solid offer. And we'll go through even some of the language and sales, and we're going to call it sales, but it's not really. If you believe in something, overall, I know I'm helping people. At the end of the day, I bring value.
Agreed. And I love that you're building a community. Obviously, I've recently started my own podcasting community, which is so cool. And I'm having so much fun with it because I'm inviting people into this space where we're all on the same vibe. We're all on the same mission. We're all about sharing our voice in different areas. A lot of the podcasters in the community are healthcare professionals, but that's because my audience is mostly pharmacists and healthcare professionals. But of course, anyone who's starting a podcast could potentially join. But I love the idea that, of course, I'm there to educate and teach and bring value and share my journey and share how you can start your own podcast. Or if you're stuck on growth or marketing or show notes or social media, there are lots of things that I can share. But the most valuable piece is that we're there to learn from each other and engage with other people who are literally in the same pathway that you are. Because LinkedIn is an amazing network. I love that platform because it provides me with exposure to so many different types of people. And it's wonderful for me to connect in terms of finding guests for the podcast or people who are also entrepreneurs like me or going through a non-traditional pathway. But once you find a community of people who are literally on your level and doing exactly the same thing as you, they may have the same obstacles that you're facing. They may have overcome them already, and they can tell you how they've overcome it and give you ideas as to where you can fix those issues. You'll have experts come into the community to talk about specific topics that might help their business. I mean, it's a game changer. Community is literally everything right now. And I'm so passionate about it because I'm obviously building something very similar, but in a different topic. But I've opened my community at the moment to basically do market research to understand where are people at in their podcasting journey and where are they facing issues that I can potentially solve. And right now it's a free community. It's open to anyone and everyone who's even thinking about starting a podcast or kind of toying with the idea, versus some of the people who've got like 10 to 20 episodes, or even a couple of my members have 2 to 3 podcasts on the go, and we're learning from each other in terms of what's working, what's not working, what are the new trends within podcasting, how do we build in adverts or sponsors or affiliate links, and all of those things are kind of coming up in conversation. So I'm really excited for you to create that community because that's your tribe. Those are going to be your people. And as an entrepreneur, that is really, really exciting. Really exciting. So I'm very excited that we're having this conversation now because obviously you're nearly at launch phase. Like this is going to be wonderful when it comes out. Do tell us where people can find more information about you. Of course, I will link your LinkedIn profile to the show notes. But tell people what is the best way for you to be contacted just in case they have extra questions or want to get in touch.
So yeah, as you mentioned, LinkedIn, I'll continue to keep that fully updated and make it easy. And then you can email me as well. I go simply by Dr. Ashley Kay Pendrick at gmail.com to make it very simple, my full name. And I know, like you said, I think entrepreneurship, when you start the journey, it can feel so alone, right? But having that tribe, the support overall can be that game changer that you need so that you're not alone and you don't stay stuck like I did for several years. After I built everything, I kind of did it out of order. You don't want to stay stuck and you want to know what's working and like what is it that you've worked on and can then help others as well. And so I'm so excited for what you have going and the community that you have and also all of the experience in podcasting that then you could be able to help and share with others and even in the Bright consulting community. I know podcasting can be such a world of open, really realm that you can find your niche clients in. And so becoming that expert is getting on a stage, as you would say, right? And kind of sharing and what it is that you have to offer and just talking. And I feel like this engagement right here is just, a testament to that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm so glad that we managed to record this podcast episode. I'm so pleased to, share your story and your community with my audience. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think one of the things that we said in the beginning, I just wanted to share for all of those listening, while we'll probably miss the initial launch and the open doors right away, the promotional code I'm going to use is Diaries, and that will provide you a discount overall on the consulting community, whether that is the monthly membership or the annual or even I've got the one-time purchase as well option. So the promotional code Diaries, and that will help support you in getting started and joining the community at a promotion and a discounted rate.
Amazing. Love it. I'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes for people so they can access it. But yeah, I really appreciate your time and your energy today, and we will catch up soon.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me, Anisha.